You're listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, where I'll be giving valuable insight and thought-provoking perspectives about the connections between our hair and how we live our daily lives. I know that many of you have heard people talking about Jerry curls and pressing curls, high top fades and sporting waves, the best products for your hair, and so much more. But what you haven't heard is how our hair can be a full reflection of what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our minds, what's going on in our bodies, and what's going on in our souls. I'm your host, Darius Peace, and I'm excited to be your weekly guide on the journey to having better hair and a better life. I set a standard for myself a long time ago about what I will and will not tolerate or accept in my relationships. I'm talking about all my relationship types. This includes familial relationships, platonic relationship, my romantic relationship. Let me make sure that that's singular. Romantic relationship. Nobody started trying to start no shit out here. My professional relationships and so forth. My requirement is that whoever I choose to have around me intimately must think that I'm the bomb. And that's important to me because you got to think I'm the bomb. And I say that because, and for those who may be listening from abroad, the bomb just means that you think that I'm awesome. You think that I'm great. All those things. You think great things about me. So that's what I mean when I say you must think that I'm the bomb. And that's important to me because whoever I choose to be around, I think is the bomb. Like if I choose to have you around me or if I choose you as a friend or whatever, even regardless of our relationship, if we're in close proximity to each other, I think you are the bomb. Hold up, I got distracted. Let me tell y'all. So I'm looking at Eric. Eric has this bomb ass tattoo on his arm, y'all. And it's a new tattoo. It's everything. And I'm looking at, he's got some areas filled in on it. And I'm like, okay, I see you, Eric. Tattoo. It is everything. It's the bomb. Cause you the bomb. But it's so funny because I was in Detroit recently and I saw a guy with that same mask tattoo on his leg. I instantly thought of you. I wanted to call, but I was in the line and I didn't want to get pushed behind. But that tattoo is everything, and you rocking it to sleep. Sorry to bring, but it really is. It's really stunning, y'all. It's very attractive. It's so nice. So
what we'll do, we'll get a picture you can put up on social.
Yes, that's exactly what we need to do.
Here's what's funny. I appreciate you saying that for two reasons, and I don't want to get us off track. But I do want to tell you thank you because I think I had told you how much this tattoo meant to me.
Yes.
And it did not come out to what I saw in my head. Now, everyone has been telling me it looks great, especially since I got it touched up. It's fantastic. Everything. But to me, it's still not what I envisioned in my head. So that definitely making me feel better because I was thinking about going to a different artist and seeing if they can make it what I saw in my head. But you just gave me the confidence to say, you know what, it's good. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Man, it's jamming. I mean, I don't know what more you would do. I mean, if you want, if what you see in your head is going to improve that, then go for it. But if it's not, then that is everything. It's the bomb, y'all. So, yeah, speaking of the bomb. So sometimes I think that we're blocked. We, collectively speaking, are blocked from experiencing peace of mind, blocked from experiencing a high sense of self because we brought into so many notions and ideologies that thinking well of ourselves and raising the bar for what we do and what we accept in our lives is a bad thing. And that, to me, makes no sense. But we'll talk more about that right after a word from our sponsors, y'all.
Visit HayaBeauty.com. That's HAYAH beauty.com or give us a call 205-703-8022 for questions, for information, or to book your appointment.
Beauty can take you higher. The mission is to inspire. I am, I was, and I always will be. Beauty higher. Beauty can take you higher. The mission is to inspire. And I always choose to start my day with higher beauty.
I recently asked a few people in the salon Haya Beauty, which is where I work, both men and women, if they saw themselves as really attractive and good looking. Now, these are people who, when I see them, I think that they're very attractive and very good looking. I don't think you have to look deeply to see these attributes in people. I would also think that most people seeing the individuals who I'm talking about, who were in the room with me, who I was questioning, would think the same. Oddly, they all had very similar responses stating that they thought they looked fine. I think I'm nice looking. I think I look okay. I think I clean up well. But none of them were wanting to say that they thought they were as good looking and attractive as I would say they are. And these are people who normally, whenever they're out and about, or even when other people see them in the salon setting, they always comment on how attractive they think they are. And so I don't want it to be misinterpreted how I'm articulating their responses, because none of them seem to have issues with low self-esteem or a lack of confidence in their physical attractiveness. It was the saying out loud and in public that they thought they were really attractive and really good looking that kind of shook them. And I do know that there are several factors that contributed to both the resistance and the reluctance in saying such a thing about themselves. One of them being the attention that comes along with outwardly expressing and openly declaring a proclamation of how beautiful one thinks they are. I know that this can make a person feel uncomfortable because now all eyes are on you, in such a way that it draws in critique of how you look and who you are. And that's a lot for a lot of people. And I understand that everybody is not ready or does not want or like that type of spotlight. So before allowing them to answer my question, I answered first by informing them that when I look in the mirror, I am very pleased with how attractive I am and how good looking I am. And I'm not saying this to bait myself up or gas myself up. I really believe that I am so handsome. And so much so that I really smile at myself with admiration and gratitude when I think these thoughts or say these things about myself. So much so that if I wasn't me, and I didn't know me, or if I was somebody else seeing me or passing by me, I would think, wow, he's a really attractive guy. He's a handsome man. He's so good looking. And I don't think these things about myself, and I know it sounds crazy, y'all, so it sounded crazy when I mentioned it in the salon, but we are going somewhere with this. I don't think these things about myself in comparison to anything or in comparison to anybody else. These thoughts are solely about me. And because they're solely about me, the people in the room who were hearing me express these thoughts all laughed and somewhat blushed about my commentary. Nobody was laughing at me, but they laughed because it was apparently weird and unorthodox to express such vain admiration for oneself, but also quite delightful and refreshing to witness someone being so convinced of their awesomeness. And I am really convinced, y'all. I scanned the room to see the facial expressions of those who I could see. And I noticed that nobody gave that stank look of, "Ooh, no, he didn't," or he look all right. I don't know. I don't think he's that good looking, or I think he's just okay. He could do better. Like nobody thought, nobody showed any indication of thinking those things. Nobody seemed to have had a thought of, well, what about that big ass nose on his face? Or you sure you're attractive with them large ass incisors in your mouth? Nobody seemed to think those thoughts or feel that way. It appeared that everybody agreed with me, and they agreed with me because it's true. They agreed with me because there was no mention of a comparison to anything or anybody. They agreed because of my level of enthusiasm in my expressions about it. And I believe they also agreed because they knew that I thought the same things about them. In the same way that I think that I am so handsome, so attractive, I think these exact same things about them. I think that these people who were in the room with me are so beautiful and so handsome and so attractive. And when I asked the question, when I asked all of them the question, everybody laughed because it sounds so stupid and it sounds so juvenile. I mean, as simple, hey, do you think that you're so attractive or so pretty? It sounds as simple as that question is. It was very thought provoking. I mean, I just remembered. Oh no. Okay, I just remembered the exact question that I asked. The question was preceded with an initial statement of me complimenting one of the guests who was in the room. I let her know that I thought that she was so pretty, and I said it just like that. Oh my gosh, I think you look so pretty. And she said, "Thank you, Peace." And I responded with, after a slight pause, I was like, "Well, do you think that you're so pretty?" And I know that because I believe that she hears it often because she's an obviously beautiful woman. And so I said, "Do you think that you're so pretty?" And that's when the response of, "Well, I think I'm cute. I think I'm all right. I think I clean up well." That's what she presented to me. And it was I know that she believed it, but she didn't really have a level of enthusiasm that really made me believe that she was very okay with saying it. There was some reluctance there. And so I asked again, I was like, "But do you think you're so pretty?" And then she said, "Well, I don't think I'm so pretty. I mean, that seems very conceited to say." And we all laughed about this because we know it can seem and sound conceited, but the question is why? Why is this perceived as negative for so many of us? And we'll go a little deeper into this right after another word from our sponsors.
Speakers, coaches, experts, and entrepreneurs. Whether you're keynoting events, growing your business, or commanding the boardroom, you are highly skilled and accomplished at what you do. But something's missing. You don't have a cohesive brand to match your level of success. But not to worry, that's where we come in. We're Honeysuckle Lane Creative Co., and we create stunning visuals that capture the essence of your business and give you the online presence of your dreams. With a full suite of creative services, including photography, web design, graphic design, and marketing strategy, we make sure you're as extraordinary online as you are in your area of expertise. Ditch the DIY and work with an experienced team that gets results. Find us online at honeysucklelanecreative.com and on Instagram at honeysuckle_creative. Let's bring your brilliance to life with an unforgettable brand.
The Smurfs was one of my favorite cartoons growing up. If nobody knows what the Smurfs is, I know that there may be some people who may be too young to remember the Smurfs, but they were these blue cartoon characters, these very uniquely drawn creatures that were living in a village all their own, Smurf Village, and they were tormented and haunted and taunted by the evil Gargamel and his crazy cat. It's so funny. Like Gargamel was a warlock. It is so funny because the 80s were so, it seemed, demon possessed as far as cartoons and all this stuff is concerned. So Gargamel was the warlock that was taunting Smurf Village. Anyway, I always loved Vanity Smurf. I thought that he was such an interesting character because he was always enamored and aware of how he looked. Now, this Smurf character always carried a mirror, allowing him to keep focus on himself. And me, growing up and choosing a career in the beauty industry requires that I present the mirror to people as well as myself all the time. Yep, as hairstylists, makeup artists, we are often called the vanity section. Team Vanity, that's us, and yes, I love it. I create and find so much joy and peace in the management and facilitation of vanity. I'm here for it, y'all. Vanity section's where it's at. So now, It's so funny. I thought I did. I think that I'm doing such a good job at decreasing the ums in my presentation. So I'm really becoming aware of that. And I was listening to, I was on a neighborhood. This is kind of off the subject, but I'm going to get back on in a minute. I'm a part of my neighborhood association. And our mayor here in Birmingham, Mayor Randall Woodfin, who is fantastic, I remember when we first started the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, Eric was telling me about some people who I could listen to hear their presentation. And one of the people that he mentioned was Mayor Randall Woodfin. And I was like, really? And I kind of got a little thrown off because I was like, well, I like, listening to Mayor Randall Woodfin speak, but anybody who is in the city of Birmingham and knows Mayor Woodfin knows that he's very chill and soft-spoken. And so I was getting it in my head. I was misinterpreting it as, do I need to speak softer or do I need to be more soft-spoken? But that's not what Eric was saying at all. When I was listening to him speak, he did not use at all. In fact, what I loved hearing in his presentation was the pauses. If there was space for an he didn't say he paused. And so that's what I'm making myself more aware of, pausing in that. So I don't think that Mayor Woodfin listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast, but if you are if you are listening, sir, bravo. So anyway, now back to vanity, because we're here talking about the vanity section. The mirror is a powerful tool because using it requires one to look at themselves. So when looking in the mirror, it's all about you and everything about you. It's about the you that you see and know that nobody else sees and knows. Allowing ourselves to look in the mirror gives us the opportunity of self-awareness. It allows us to first experience and create influence for how we guide the world and its perception of us. What we choose to see in ourselves has a very large influence on guiding everyone's thoughts and perceptions of us. And I'm going to say that again because that's one of those things that is going to really guide and anchor this particular episode of the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. What we choose to see in ourselves has a very large influence on guiding everyone's thoughts and perceptions of us. Now, I'm not saying that if we think that we're so handsome and so pretty and so beautiful that everyone is going to agree. And whether they agree or not doesn't have to have a heavy impact on our feelings. We can allow what I consider to be outside thoughts and perceptions to remain in their place, which is outside of us. It does not have to penetrate into our minds and our emotions. Yes, they can affect us on the outside, but we do not have to allow any powerful influence on the inside from outside perceptions. So anyway, that was cool about the mirror as a tool. Don't y'all think so? Yeah. Anyway, mirror as a tool, we got to use it. When we look in the mirror, we see ourselves, and this allows us to focus on ourselves and become better versions of ourselves. It's hard, in my opinion, to become a worse version of yourself when you're always in the mirror. It's hard to critique and condemn others when you're looking in the mirror at yourself. It's even harder to really fully consider others when you're focused in the mirror. Key word in this context is focus. I think that there's a yin to every yang. There's a pro to every con. There's a good to every bad. And we all have the power to navigate how we choose to use the mirror as our tool of self-perception. I've had several salon guests at Haya Beauty over the years to struggle with looking in the mirror because they are unhappy about what they see in the reflection. And I know and understand that much of the dissatisfaction that many experience when looking in the mirror is a result of outside influence. That's why I mentioned earlier in this episode of the My Hair and Nappy podcast that outside influence should remain outside and not penetrate our minds. It doesn't have to make it inside, especially if it does not align with the good that we think about ourselves, or if it doesn't encourage good thoughts and good beliefs about ourselves. So keeping outside perceptions in their place allows us to really filter through it all, take it to the mirror for us to decide how we want to use it for getting better in some way, shape, or form. I think about, for me, one of the reasons that this is easy, because it is easy for me to think well of myself. I don't have to convince. I'm not convincing myself that I'm great or that I'm so handsome or so attractive. I know this. I believe this, and it really has a lot to do with my upbringing. Especially my Christian background. I always, let people know that I'm not coming here on the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast from a Christian standpoint, because I don't identify with any formal religion in that regard. But my foundation and even anchor in how I choose to walk in life is with that of my Christian roots. And so one of the things that I remember learning growing up was, greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. That's one. Another was, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. That's another. And then I guess the most impactful to me was that I am created in the image and likeness of God, and that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and that at the end of 7 days or 7 moments or 7 eras of creation, God interpreted the creation as good. It was perfect. And if God is perfect and I'm created in the image and likeness of God, then I must be perfect too. So it seems very wrong for me to see myself as bad, or see myself as anything less than beautiful, or see myself as anything less than great, because I'm created in the image and likeness of God, and God is what we've learned to be perfect and almighty and all everything. So it makes sense for me to believe and affirm and confirm these things about myself, because it lines up with what I interpreted as the word, which was perfect. So that's what my anchor is for why I think so highly of myself. It seems like if I don't, then I'm insinuating that God made a mistake with me, that I wasn't created as perfection, or it says that I disagree. And hey, if one disagrees with, us not being perfect like God in that image and likeness, because this is what the word said. This ain't what I said. This is what was taught to me. This is not what I taught myself. So this is what I grew up learning and believing. So that's where that comes from. And that's what allows me to justify feeling so good about myself. That's what justifies me smiling at myself in admiration, because I think that I'm great, because I think that I'm so handsome, and that I'm so attractive. And I differentiate the two because they are different. The handsomeness refers to what people see on the outside, but the attractiveness is what people feel from me, what draws them in, what draws me to them and draws them back to me. So that's why I say I'm so those things. And I experience that every day of my life. That's why I mentioned earlier, as I said before, that the outside influence should remain outside and not penetrate our inside, because that's where the attractiveness comes in. No, there go that but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm growing in that. But that the is coming in because this is so fresh. This is fresh information. I'm giving fresh, organic thought. And organic is always good for us because it's easier to digest. But keeping outside perceptions in their place allows us to filter through it all and to take it to the mirror for us to decide how we want to use it for getting better in some way, shape, or form. And if you're listening to what I'm saying with both your heart and your mind, you're likely to understand that the tool of the mirror presents what is outside, while also inspiring management of what's inside. So that means that the mirror is presenting our handsomeness or our prettiness or our beauty, but it's what's outside that inspires the management of our attractiveness. And that's what's on the inside. And I'm going to go back to myself for a minute. So I really do see a beautiful man when I look in the mirror, flaws and all, y'all. One lesson that I learned early in my adulthood, and this was from one of my frat brothers, his name is Paul. Paul Favors, love Paul. But Paul said that we should never allow a bug on a painting to distract from the full beauty of a picture. And that was, we were like 19 years old when he said that to me. I thought it was so deep and so profound. I love that because it still to this day impacts me. And I just thought it was really brilliant for him to say, as a young man, because for me, I see a handsome, a powerful, a brilliant, loving, and attractive man when I look in the mirror. And that, to me, magically inspires the management of my thoughts and my feelings about myself. Now, management, in this case, I'm referring to navigating through the flawed thoughts and beliefs that have influenced how I see myself as well as others. Now, I see that someone outside of me can be so pretty and so attractive. But I see that because I see that in me. That allows me to be able to see that. But on the flip side, I can see that if someone is so ugly or so unattractive, that also is a reflection of what I see in me or an influence of what I see in myself. It still goes back to me. Yep, at the end of the day, back to me. And really, for all of us, it goes back to all of us. Is if all you see is people looking all right or looking all right, then that more than likely reflects back to you because all you see when you see yourself is, oh, I'm all right, the more I think that more likely reflects back to you. If all you see and acknowledge is people being ugly and unattractive, then again, that likely reflects back to you. And the ugly and the unattractiveness that's in you, or that ugly and unattractive lens that you're viewing the world with. So this is what I think can be so hard about the mirror as a tool, because it reveals not only how we see ourselves, but it also reveals how we see the world. And I try to make sure that my lens is dominated by and with the focus of beauty. This is what influences my so handsomeness and me being so attractive. And I know in my saying that it sounds very juvenile, but that so is how I'm able to emphasize to myself as well as others how attractive and how beautiful and how amazing I think something is or they are. People usually feel very good about me, and I most often create, encourage, and provide a safe space as well as permission for people to feel beautiful and be attractive and nothing less. I believe that my knowledge of me being so handsome and so attractive is what influences and inspires other people's knowledge of me being so handsome and so attractive. It's like that's what influences them. My smile, along with my eye contact and magnetism, usually inspires people's shared thoughts about myself. They usually say, "Oh my gosh, and I say everywhere I go, y'all, I get this in some way, shape, or form. Somebody is telling me that I am so handsome and I am so attractive. It comes in so many different forms. Like, I may get stopped about, man, I really like how your hair looks, or man, you polished to the nine, or man, you just got some really good energy about yourself. I just feel like I want to talk to you and be around you or do something. And so I know that is very inspired and influenced by what I think about myself, because that's what's coming out of me. That's what's inspiring that response from people. But also, On the flip side, I'm telling someone everywhere I go. So it's not like I'm just on the receiving end of these compliments and these affirmations and these confirmations. I'm also giving them everywhere I go, y'all. I promise. I'm telling somebody that they are so pretty or so attractive. This is even in my household. My wife and kids get it. Oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. You look so handsome. Like those are things that are not abnormally spoken in my house, or it's not odd or rare for anybody to hear that. And it's like it has a way of reflecting and recycling itself back to me and back to the other person and back to me again and back to the world around me and back to me again. I mean, shit, fuck what the world says. The management and navigation, the management and navigation of beauty starts within us and with a cycle of focus between us and the mirror. That's one of the things that's so important. Like, I'm going to say it again. The management and the navigation of beauty starts within us. And with a cycle of focus between us and the mirror. I liken it to the water cycle and how water is able to come down to the surface, rise up and be managed and cleansed and purified, only to come back down to the surface and do it all over again, do the same thing. And that, to me, is what the mirror allows us to do, or it can allow us to do that anyway. It allows us to see ourselves at the surface, penetrate what we see into our mind so that it can be managed and cleansed and purified, only to come back to the mirror again and cycle back around. Like that's so cool to me. And when we're not looking in the mirror, or when we're not using the mirror as a tool for the purpose of becoming better or more beautiful in every way, all of the good in that cycle gets missed, making room for contamination, making room for damage, making room for a lack of nourishment, and in some cases, making room for death. And I'm not talking about you physically dying. I'm talking about being dead on the inside with low confidence and low self-esteem, low thoughts and a low vibration. I mean, think about it. If the water cycle didn't occur, that would initiate the end of life as we know it. And so I think that in the same way that water cycle is so critical for us in our being, I think that cycle of reflection in the mirror and us becoming better is equally critical, especially because it really does influence and impact our relations with ourselves as well as our relationships with other people. But as I was saying in the beginning about the conversation in the salon with the people who were present, the question that I shared with everybody, the question that I shared with everybody was, did they or did they not think that they were so beautiful and attractive? And some people, both men and women, shared that they thought that they were taught that saying and thinking these things about themselves, that I'm so pretty or so handsome or so attractive. They said that they were taught that thinking those things about themselves or saying those things made them conceited, or made it to where people would think that they were conceited, vain, or stuck up. And this lesson was also followed by them being encouraged to stay humble, be humble, as if being humble meant that you couldn't think or express the best things about yourself. Now, humble means acting in a manner in which doesn't act in arrogance, or a showcase of being, or doesn't showcase you being proud or looking down on others. That's what humble is usually meaning or interpreted as. And it's often interpreted as being antithetical or contrary to vanity or being vain. Actually, being humble doesn't have to have anything to do with vanity. I think that both vanity and humility can have strong advantages and strong disadvantages depending on how they're navigated and channeled. Everything that I've mentioned regarding vanity has emphasized the focus on self and self-awareness. And as long as the focus reflects back to oneself, it's often, in my opinion, very hard to place oneself in comparison with others. Our beauty, our vanity, Our mirrors have absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. Therefore, there's no need or value in a comparison to anything or anybody else, especially when our focus is directed toward our individual and unique contributions to the collective showcase or ever-expanding standards of beauty. Another person in the salon that day, I remember, mentioned being bullied and criticized for being perceived as pretty. She said, she talked about how when she was growing up, girls would mistreat her because they thought that she was better than them because she was pretty, which I know is probably not the case because this person is usually very complimenting to everyone she comes in contact with. But anyway, she also mentioned that guys would be highly offended when and if she rejected romantic advances towards her. She said that she was on a job one time and many of the guys who she would not give the time of day would spread rumors about her to other people, saying that she was stuck up and she was a sedity bitch who thought she was too good for anybody. And I'm like, that is not cool. There was a male in the mix who stated that he never really saw himself as being as attractive as people would say he was. And this is probably because outside beauty standards and beauty norms influenced his perception of himself. I don't know. I'm not saying that everyone should walk around with signs and banners proclaiming that they're so handsome and so beautiful and so attractive. What I am saying is that you should not think that there's something wrong with doing that either. There's nothing wrong with believing or saying great things about yourself. And I think that we should all contribute to creating environments in which people can confidently say great things about themselves without it negatively affecting your thoughts about yourself or our thoughts about ourselves. I mean, if I say that I'm so handsome and I'm so attractive, that ain't got shit to do with you. That's about me because I said I am so handsome and I am so attractive. And because that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that you're not so handsome and you're not so attractive. I'm talking about me. As a matter of fact, it's likely meaning that you are so beautiful and so attractive because more than likely that's what I'm going to bounce back off of me. And anybody who's been around me for a lengthy period of time will know that I do not place myself in situations in which I cannot see the beauty or potential thereof in the people or where I am. I don't hang out in the swamps, and I damn sure don't hang out with swamp donkeys. Yep, I said what I said. We got to give ourselves our best thoughts. We got to give ourselves our best perceptions. And in order to do this, we have to be able to manage what has influenced, impacted, and inspired us from the outside in such a way that it encourages necessary self-improvements and adjustments in every area of our being, so that we can truly and in full confidence believe and express, however we choose to, the best things about ourselves. So that we can also see and express the best things about other people. See, vanity ain't so bad, y'all. It's just how we choose to manage that vanity that influences its use and its power. So, I'm going to close this out. But before I do, y'all remember that your hair ain't nappy and my hair ain't nappy either. Until next time, y'all. Thank you for listening to the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. Reach out to us on social media. We're on TikTok and we're on Instagram at the My Hair Ain't Nappy podcast. We want to hear your stories. Until next time, love you and love your hair.